Have them put something up here on the ceiling, just drop it down, and then get it back to you.
They sign it on the second of
It's easy
April.
to
They
do.
did not send it until the 8th. Then get to it.
Oh, I have it on.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what I'm not sure.
Because if we're gonna put
Yeah, that's all.
I asked him. It's going to get interesting.
What's a new grant? It's a new grant.
We'll call tonight's meeting of the Beloit City Council to order. Dave, would you take a roll call, please?
Pat Struble. Here. Frank Delka.
Here.
Kent Miller.
Here.
Robert Peterson.
Here.
Bob Richard.
Here.
Matt Oddie.
Here.
Rick Brown.
Here.
Lloyd Luttrell.
Present. Thank you. If you'd stand with me for the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, please bless us this evening as we conduct the city's business. Please give us the guidance to make the decisions that's the best for our community. Please work with us and bless us so we can work together as one. Be with those that are leaving us on the council and put blessings on those that are about to join us. Please be with our police officers and our uniformed armed services as they serve us here in our country and around the world, protecting our freedoms so we have the right to vote and the right to speak freely. In your name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lloyd, do you have anything this time?
Well, I wouldn't bring it up. I do have a couple of things. One of them that I'm not sure about when to bring up is the insurance that's on, the appropriation ordinance that's on the consent agenda. If we approve the appropriation ordinance, we are paying for our insurance, and then later in the meeting, we have
The
the
approval
insurance
of the
on the,
insurance?
yes, and I'm wondering if we need to move that, just the appropriation ordinance to the end of the meeting, or something to straighten that out. It doesn't seem right that you pay them before you decide you're gonna use their
Approve to pay it.
company.
Clint, shall we just,
You can approve the consent agenda with appropriations minus the city insurance, and then do that after we pass the insurance on formal action plan.
I'll take care of that.
Okay, and then the other thing, that I had two complaints. It calls for, one for junk vehicle and one for quality of water.
I think we've all been getting quality of water. Numerous on my end.
That's all I have.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I'd like to, I'm assuming Mandy, you're the one responsible for getting the website up and our videos are back online.
YouTube.
YouTube. So I'm happy to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Frank? Yep.
I just want to wish Frank and Pat well, thank them for the service.
Bob? Excuse me, Pat.
Well, they must be anxious to get rid of me here.
I stand corrected.
I'm looking pretty good.
Bob?
Well, we aren't gonna get rid of it real quick. We'll have a little bit more with you here before we get rid of it.
5 minutes,
Well, I also want to thank Pat for your years of service on the governing body and Frank also, and because it is a commitment, it does take time, and I know everybody sitting around the table here appreciate and understand. Again, thank you for your service.
We want to tell them what we did in the
Thank you. Katie?
I'll just wait till work session.
Okay.
I'll wait till later, thanks.
Glenn?
I do have a number of things to talk about. First on the agenda though, tonight, I'm gonna ask our Community Development Director, Heather Hartman, to come forward. If you haven't heard by now, we did receive our block grant for our housing rehab that we did apply for, it seems like a long time ago. I don't know, whatever, it's been a while. We did get notice last week, typically you get that in January, but because of delays at the federal level, I didn't hear that, apparently they didn't get their money until March or April. So anyway, the governor signed all that, and we did get our notification last week, and so now the hard part begins. We did, I think there were 6 cities.
Yeah.
Six cities
Can I have a
that
little
total-
bit of stats? if you
Okay,
want 'em?
all right, yeah,
Want 'em now?
come on up, sure, come on up. And
Okay,
might
yeah,
as
I
well
do have
that
a few
one now.
stats. I thought you'd want to know a few things. So yes, we got the grant. Very, very, very excited. There were 6 applications across the state. We were the second from the top, so we did very, very well. And we missed the top by a fraction of a few points, and Ellsworth beat us, but not by much. But we scored very well with the housing assessment tool and also the development of the project. And so it's a good project to be awarded. We requested $400,000 from the Department of Commerce for a total project cost of $442,000. Approximately $328,000 will be spent on housing and apartment rehab, and then demolitions are budgeted at about $28,500. The landlords have agreed to contribute up to $44,000 for rehab of some rental units, and so it's a large amount of money that's gonna go back in. Specifically, we propose to do demolition up to 8 dilapidated houses. It's both a short and long-term solution for some spaces. Hopefully it'll free up some green spaces for us. And then clean up some neighborhoods that will be visually appealing, which will help. And then we propose to do up to 15 housing rehab projects. The units are varied. They're in need of moderate to substantial rehab. The majority of the houses that were done in our pre-application phase have cited replacement of windows, roof, siding, foundation. But this is just good for when those homeowners move on. That frees up some great little first-time family-owned homes, so we like that. Because of the abundance of the interest in the project, we'll have no problems finding enough people. I think we ended at 50 or 55 applications is what we're at right now. So we're already actually looking at another grant. I showed up in Glenn's office yesterday and said, guess what, we'll do another one, because we're 2 for 2 so far. So we'll see if we can be 3 for 3 by the time we're done. So we're looking at another housing one. I talked to a few people about it today. Next step though, we do need a housing board, but I have some good news about that. I am hopeful for at least one city council person to sit on the board with me, and then maybe someone else from the community. 3 to 5 people max, we really don't need more than that. But what this board will do is develop a housing plan. And there's lots of examples out there. North Central Regional Planning is fantastic, but there's some good examples of what they've done for housing plans in other areas. And then with that housing plan, we'll have a point system in there. And we can determine what the point system is depending on what we want, but they're usually pretty generic across the board. Because we have landlords that have agreed to put some money into it, I mean, I'd like to let those guys have a chance at some of these projects also. But then we'll develop the point system, then we turn that back over. We'll have a public meeting, we'll send all the applications out. They'll have a time period, 30 to 60 days to get that back in. And then regional planning will actually sort through those applications and they will award the points. So this housing board is hands-off, which is good for us, I think. And then regional planning will do the point system. People with the highest points get awarded this time, and then hopefully we'll apply for something else in the future. But we will need some sort of housing board probably to be appointed. And we'll try and do that in conjunction with, right now, the regional planning will start doing an environmental review. And then we'll start, and then the fun starts on Wednesday. So we're very excited. I'm very excited. You guys should be very excited. It's great for the community. Any questions?
we want to thank you for
Well, good.
doing that for us.
Good.
It's
I'm
gonna
excited.
help the community a lot.
It will. It'll be a huge, huge shot in the arm. I know it's just a start, but it's definitely a start.
When do you anticipate any type of work beginning?
It'll be a while. Probably 8 months, I would think, at the minimum. We don't even have the actual contract yet.
No, we have that letter from the governor's office.
Which is great.
Which
Yeah.
should start. So
We're excited. I'm very excited. You guys should be excited. It should be a good thing, so. All right, that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. All right. We talked a little earlier about water, problems with water quality. To remind you, I think we will have something in the paper if we haven't already. Water department will be flushing mains here, which we do every year between April 21st, 25th. So that does help alleviate some of that problem, not all of it, of course. There's a lot of different problems that go into the water quality that we're talking about. We've been in contact with the rock crushing guys. He'll be out here in the next couple of weeks. We haven't got a definite date for him yet. He's still working on a job out in Western Kansas out there. On the franchise agreement front, I did hear from AT&T today. They sent us a first draft of a new franchise agreement. Remember, that's the one that dates back to 1949. Their legal department constructed one and sent it to me today. I sent it to Katie this afternoon, so we'll meet on that. We'll most likely have something for Cunningham and for AT&T. They'll be very similar, because that's the whole point, is to make them both of those very similar, so they're both on the same playing field and all that kind of good stuff. So they didn't have any problem going with the 5% franchise fee or a 10-year, whatever agreement we want. They were not contending that at all. They just wanted a new franchise agreement, just like we do. So that'll be coming at us most likely at the next meeting. Impound fee ordinance will most likely have that at the next. And just a reminder, the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, working with Hannah Keelan to help us with the housing assessment tool and all that for the grant. They will get back out here on the 22nd. We'll be meeting downstairs and finish it. That'll be the last meeting of that entire steering group for that time. So anyway, and then we'll go forward from there with their recommendations for the steering committee and update our comprehensive plan of all the things that go out of that. Yes.
When is the franchise fee geared as to their use of city right-of-ways?
That's the theory behind why you charge a franchise fees, because they use city right-of-ways.
So
basically.
I know there are several different long distance where everything's available in Beloit, so they would be exempt. That's right, they don't have.
No, it's not that. It's the total revenue from what they're charging their customers is what it is. I mean, so it's based on that. It's not based on how many miles and lines or anything of that sort. It's just based on usually 5% of gross revenue. And that's the way those franchise agreements are normally written. It won't be any different. So it's just a standard agreement that almost every city who's got a cable or telecommunications has got throughout the state. So.
And are we going to, I don't want to make enemies, but this other rural power company, have we discussed franchise fees from them?
As far as I know, that the agreement that we have with them, there is no franchise fee with them in that territory there. And that was when they gained that territory back when. They were exempt from that.
So anybody in Beloit that's on their service, they don't have to pay?
Well, in that area up there, I don't know about anywhere else, but that was part of the agreement to bring them in there.
Yeah, well, I realize that.
Yeah, but if they serve anywhere else, I don't think they'd fall under that same agreement. So, that'd be a separate.
Do we have a current agreement then with the gas company, do you?
Yes, yes.
For a specific amount of time?
Yeah, I don't know when that one was.
I believe it's also a 10-year, but it was
Yeah,
a few years ago.
I think it was signed at, yeah, I recently saw that, yeah, that one's up to date. I forget when that actually expires, but. So once we do this one, all the franchises that we know about, I can't think of anyone else out there, would be all up to date, so. Anyway, all right, pretty good.
Thank you, Glenn. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Arlen Fox wants to discuss the lease property. Arlen, you want to approach up here, please?
Thank you. I'd like to address the council on a problem of weeds on property 1002 East 4th Street. Well, we've been putting up the weeds that blew over all of my property, and I'm getting tired of it. Anything we can do about it?
Well, I think we have some ordinances, once the weeds hit height, they'll be notified to take care of them. It needs to be brought to Chris's attention so he can inspect it. We should be able to enforce the ordinance that we have on large weeds, I think. I mean, Chris, you got a comment, please?
I've talked to the state, Kansas State agent that handles the weeds in the area, and there's really only about 3 noxious weeds that we worry about. That's bindweed, thistle, and Johnson grass. Mostly, if you can keep those mowed, that'll take care of those. Bindweed can be treated with Weed Be Gone Max. Hit that a couple of times a year, and that takes care of bindweed. Everything else is not a noxious weed, and be handled with our weed code. His neighbors have kept their lawns mowed for years. I've never had to send them a notice to mow their weeds, so.
Okay.
Have you been out to look at that property?
I've been by there, yeah, just last week. I'm not looking for weeds yet, but.
Yeah.
Well, every time the weeds start growing, they blow over my property and drift up around my house. I spend 3 hours a day picking up weeds every time I get a south wind.
What weeds are growing over there?
Well, I don't know what kind of variety it is. I'm not sure. I don't know what to call it.
Then once they mature and then they die there in the fall, then you put up with them all winter then? I'm assuming is when they're
Well,
below.
they used to go to seed and blow there all summer. Some kind of a little thistle.
Well,
As you're all aware, that I'm not able to address weeds until they're 12 inches high.
right.
All right?
Well,
And then I send the notice, and they'll have an extra 10 days then to cut them.
If they don't maintain it, Ernie, when those weeds get 12 inches tall, call Chris. And we can get out there, then we can
Well,
start our
they go
process.
to seed before they get that tall. They don't get that tall, but they sure drift up on my property.
Is this right south of you, Arnold? That big,
Yes.
big area there?
It's windmill grass, I take it?
Yeah, something like that, could be.
What do you do with something like that, Chris, where it doesn't hit our height and the thing?
Really nothing I can do. They're not noxious, and they're not too high.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing in the code that would address that.
Oh, I don't like to spend 3 hours a day picking up weeds.
Have you talked to your neighbor about them?
No, I ain't gonna try.
Do you have any suggestions, Arnold? I mean, if we don't have a code, what could we do to help you out?
Well, most people put a weed killer on their yards so they don't have weeds. They're nothing but weeds. They probably 90% weeds over there. They don't have no grass.
Could we have at least maybe Chris visit with these people to see if they do something? I mean, if it's blowing on his property, it is nuisance for them. I mean,
No, this homeowner will not cooperate. I'm also having run-ins with him for his animals. And
So what can we do? Is there anything we can do to help Mr. Fox out?
right now, there's nothing. Like I said, if the weeds aren't tall enough to where our code would regulate, or there's no noxious weeds out there that aren't being treated, then I don't have anything. We're actually voluntary compliance, but Arnold and I both know where that's gonna go.
How many weeds would have to be 12 inches tall for the ordinance to take effect?
I'm sorry?
So if you have one weed out there, the
Well,
is 12 inches?
yeah, no, I don't. I'd be tarred and feathered and run clear out of town if I start doing that.
Well, it's an issue, and it's another case of not being a responsible property.
What some communities have done is lower that height down to, say, 8 inches.
And I believe when we discussed this as we were working through codes and work session, the recommendation was 8 inches. So when we do codification and actually adopt that, it will be 8 inches, but
Well, it sounds like that would maybe
that probably won't be the.
get us in there on
That,
that.
it'll help, but,
Yeah.
yeah, whether it'll fix this problem, I don't know. Like I said, when it gets 8 inches, I send the notice, they still got 10 days to comply. So, if we get some moisture, whew,
Well, if they're not catching it or mowing it when that windmill grass gets going anyway, you're not gonna control those. What wanna call it, the little tumbleweeds that blow and drift and everything else.
right?
Well, I just don't like spending 3 hours a day every time I get a south wind. That's getting pretty expensive.
We understand. Well, hopefully when we get our ordinance changed, then there's something we can legally do to help you also.
I think.
Thank you.
Too bad we could spray it, such a deal.
Get on to the
Next item on the agenda is the April 2nd council meeting minutes and appropriations 4B. Questions, comments?
I would move that we approve those with the exception of the payment on the Phelps insurance and move that to the end of the meeting.
Motion's been made by Councilman Latrell that we approve the appropriations in the meeting minutes with the exclusion of the bill to Pounce Insurance for our insurance premium, which will be dealt with later in the formal actions. Seconded by Councilman Delta. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion, then, roll call vote, please.
Struble,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Brown,
Yep.
Latrell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Audi,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Delta.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is appreciation for exiting council members. And Frank's about done here tonight. His countdown's just about completed.
Can I give my last soapbox
Yes.
to this council before I leave? Okay, I just jotted this down today, and so I noticed looking here, I've spelled a lot of words wrong, and that's overlooked that, but I wanted to say, over the years, I spent a lot of time and have had a lot of opportunity to work with several council members, different mayors, different city administrators, and it seems like everyone that's taken this position has really loved the town of Beloit. We moved here in '70 and we've loved it, never regret ever coming, and the town was good to us. And we, along with other council members, have always wanted to keep this town going. But many times, with the help of John Devine, he helped us always have a bucket list and our visions always for like 10, 20 years ahead. And over the years, some of these visions are, and you'll all be familiar with them, is making good use of our business park, removing the bricks off of Percy and Mill Street, a new sports complex, because I know my kids played in a dust field that was up there, and it's beautiful now and used, very well used. And we've got the cooling fan, and a new pool was always discussed, and now the North Campus, that was just kind of handed to us, and that's like icing on the cake, because out of it, we got a new law enforcement center plus a library, and that was on the agenda. So, you know, having the visions and a bucket list is something having, because it always keeps you working for something, and the people in this town are so good at backing you up. And also, we have great hardworking people in this community, plus we've got good hardworking people that work for the city. And we as city leaders and council members, we set policies. So make wise decisions, turn them over to Glenn, and he will get them to the people, and the crew here will get the job done. Also, going to the municipal meetings, and they're always the first week in October. You can learn so much from them and what's going on and keep up with the latest will always be a big help. And also get out among the community, know the people and listen to them because they will tell you what they want and what the town needs. And I'd also like to thank the people of Ward 2 for keeping me here and supporting me all these years, and all the other people in this town that I love so well. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. Frank, you got a few words?
Just, I've learned a lot in the last 4 years. This is not my cup of tea, but I think it's going in good hands, so I'll sit and watch the video on Wednesday nights.
Thank you for the time you spent. It's appreciated. Now I think Glenn
We have
has
some
the
plaques here.
plaques I'd like to
for-
present.
Yeah, one for each of them. It only has 2006, 2004, but you've served longer than that. For people who don't know, Pat's been on here for 16 years total, I think.
Total, yes.
All total, which
Thank
is
you.
extraordinary. That's a great commitment, and of course, Frank has served his term on there too. So, when all said and done, you do get a plaque. So, appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're not gonna be there. No, I'm not gonna be there. But you could have won the game. I could have won and not been there.
Thank you, Lori.
We'll now have an oath of loyalty for the new and re-elected council members. If the council would join us for the swearing in. Oath of loyalty.
Get up here, Tony, you're on the payroll now.
Will they face this one?
Yeah.
They'll stand actually here and make sure.
All right, after, I'll say aye and then with your name and then repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of counselor.
and faithfully discharge the duties of counselor.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Tony, welcome.
Thank you.
Doreen, welcome.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda this evening is to appoint a council president. I'll take nominations for a council president at this time. Matt?
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Lloyd Luttrell for council president.
We have a motion to nominate Lloyd Luttrell as council president. Do I have a second?
I'd like to nominate Rick.
Just a second. We have no second. Motion dies for lack of second. Okay, we have, it's been nominated by Councilman Richards that we nominate Rick Brown as council president. Do I have a second?
Second.
And seconded by Councilman Miller. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Rick Brown's council president.
We're expecting great.
Yeah. Okay. Next item on the agenda is resolution. Excuse that at the top.